Welcome to Driveway Garage. Today I'm going to change the rear end fluid on a 1995 Ford F150 two-wheel drive. I'll flip it around here and show it to you. So as you can see, back the camera out, the front end's sitting on the ground and the back end I drove up on ramps. Now my driveway's on a little bit of an incline, not much, but when I took the fill plug out, I didn't even think about it. Fluid started to run out on the ground. So I got a little bit of kind of like cat litter stuff to absorb the oil. But I just didn't even think about it. I got an oil pan under there, but I didn't have it under where I was working. I got a carpet under there, so I'm not laying right on the asphalt. And I thought I'd set this up on my tripod, show you how to do it. I'm going to pause it, get under there and show you where the drain plug is and then the bolts you have to take out. So let me get down under there. So the drain plug is on the front and it's right above this reinforced metal here. You should be able to see it there. I'm trying to see what you see. Oh, I guess it's up further. There it is. Anyway, it's a 3/8 inch drive. So I just used a ratchet and an extension to break it free. I tried my little 3/8 impact. Wrong button. I tried this one. Nope, that one. It wasn't working. I also tried it on these bolts. It wasn't working. So I got my 1/2 inch Hitachi and I got an adapter on it. That backed these bolts right out of here. So what you got to do is take all the bolts out. And what you will want to do probably is leave one of the bolts just halfway in at the top. That'll keep your cover from falling completely off. And then you can take, I've got a scraper here someplace. There it is. This old scraper. I'm going to wedge it up under here where the gasket is. And if I can get you in the picture here, wedge it in here and break this seal free, so that the fluid will just drain out into this pan. So I'm going to see if I can get you on the tripod, because since I have it jacked up, that should work all right. And I'm thinking I might go up front, get my jack and a couple jack stands, and jack this thing up higher in the front so it's not on quite such an angle. And then I'll go ahead and take the rest of these bolts out except for one and pop this baby loose. So I'll be right back. And these bolts are 1/2 inch, just so you know, at least on this truck. Well, that seems to be the best place for the camera. The tripod just sits too high, the exhaust is in the way, the spare tire's in the way. So let me get these other bolts out of here. Like I said, with this 1/2 inch impact, they come out pretty easy. I'll just take this one out. Either one of them, doesn't matter. Part way. Okay. Now they say to use, what is it, RTV for a gasket? Maybe that's what they used here, but I guess you can also buy a gasket. I don't know if it'd be out of silicone or rubber or cork or what. I might call O'Reilly's. I'll see if I have some RTV in here, because I'm not sure if I do. I'm going to loosen that bolt just a little bit more. Oh, I don't know if it's necessary, but there. It's still there, but at least it's loose. Drain pan should catch everything. Let's see if we can break this loose. There it goes. So I took this in for an oil change and they said it was kind of dirty, so I don't know what they would have charged me to drain it, but probably over $100. So I'll just do it myself. Maybe I'll have to leave this in there to drain it. Now I saw one guy, I don't think he really was experienced. He took the cover off and then blew it out with air. I'm going to take my cover off and I'm going to spray brake clean in there. That's part of the reason I wanted to jack this up. But I can't get it jacked up high enough to make the front end higher than the back end. I just barely got the tires off the ground now, but seems like that's about as far as my jack will go. It was making noises. I got the jack stands up there. So, oops. I'm just going to let that drain for a while. I think it's pretty much drained. I guess I'll take that last bolt out. The whole thing is you don't want the pan just falling off into your oil. I'll get that last bolt out of there, then I can bring the pan down, set it on here and take a look at everything. Hopefully there's not a lot of metal filings in here. Oh, look at that, I can reach right over that bracket. I can reach over it, but I can't really do what I need to do. So we're going to do this left-handed. Left hand there, right hand here. Oh, that bolt's going to fall. Oh, it didn't fall. It's ready to fall. There. Okay. Now we'll get this off of there. And we'll flip it around. Actually, if you guys can see that, looks pretty clean in there. Now the bolt you take out for the fill plug has a magnet on it, so I'm going to look at that too. I'm just going to clean this up. Yep, I guess they must have used RTV before. There's a bead of it on the inside and the outside here. Take that off of there. Chuck that back in the weeds for now. I'll take my scraper. I'm going to scrape around this edge. Spray this out with some brake clean. Actually looks, oh, no, it's a piece of rubber. And then I'll get my brake clean and spray up in here. Clean this. Now there's a little dip at the bottom here, so you're going to have to take a rag, clean that out of there, otherwise you're not going to get it all out. But yeah, it's not a bad job. The hardest part, I guess, was getting the drain plug out. I'm going to pause that. I'm going to get everything cleaned up. You need to take your scraper. Where's my scraper? There it is. You need to go over this edge, make sure it's clean. Don't scrape it up, don't scratch it. Just make sure it's clean. No rough spots. And then when you get everything else clean, you can take a rag and wipe it off. I would almost rather have a gasket. I'm going to see if they have one, because with the RTV you have to put it on the pan, circle the bolt holes, let it sit for an hour, then you put it on, and then you tighten it up, then you let it sit for 24 hours before you fill it full of fluid, start using it. I don't want to wait that long if I don't have to. So I'm going to call O'Reilly's and see if they have a cork or rubber gasket that would work on this. I just don't know if they make one, and if they have one. If not, I'll use some gasket maker. So if I keep getting my head in the oil, I'll be back. So I've got this gray scratch pad, which is like quadruple steel wool, so it's not very abrasive. You can use it on glass and chrome. I'm just going to run that on here a little bit, because there's little remnants of that RTV on here, sealant, which stuck to the housing. It's not much. It's like almost like a little film. But I figure this is a good way, without damaging the housing, I can get that stuff off of there. It's working really good. almost need some goggles because of the dust under here on this truck. Anyway, I'm going to make sure that's nice and clean. And it seems to be. Now, I've got a partial can of brake clean here. You know, I'm sure this is like changing your oil. You don't have to get every drop out. I'll get in here and pull what I can with my hand up here to this groove. That holds quite a bit. As you can see, it's puddling up, coming out. Plus this will get most of that brake clean out of there. Kind of looks a little bit shiny, I don't know. I'm going to have to pull that drain plug out of there and take a good look at that. But no chunks, that's a good thing. Get everything I can out of there. You know, it's like flushing your transmission, changing your oil. You're not going to get every drop out of it. But you get the majority out and you put in fresh. And you're good to go for another 100,000, right? Well, probably in the rear end. I don't even know what they recommend. I just bought this truck. It's got 181,000 miles on it, but I can't remember who he told me owned it, but it was well maintained. They reupholstered the front seat. I painted the front and back bumpers and the bezels around the headlights black. The bumpers were a little rusty and they were kind of gray at one time. The bezels were gray. So now it's all black and it looks pretty sharp for an old 30-year-old truck. Well, I'll just let that drain a little bit more. See, now there's a little tiny bit of that film of RTV on there, so I'm going to scrape that off. I think what I'll do, oh, my hand's filthy dirty. I was going to take some of that brake clean and spray the outside off, but maybe I'll just wipe it with a rag. I think it'll be good enough. Just want to make sure there's no little pieces of that leftover RTV on there. Nice and clean, no remnants, no pieces of shop towel. What else we got? Oh, see, it's still draining, so I'm just going to let it keep draining while I clean the cover up. It's draining from all over down, and then it fills this trough up. So I'll just keep scooping that trough out, and that'll clean out all that fluid. And then when we get her all back together, now some guys say you're supposed to fill it up till it comes out the drain hole, and obviously that's what they did before, because on the angle it was just pouring out of there. Maybe that's the right way to do it. It's supposed to hold like 2.3 ounces, something like that. I mean quarts, sorry. Which I have. So, let me take this cover, get it cleaned up, and then I'll see what I have for RTV, or see if O'Reilly's has a gasket that would make it a little faster process. If they don't have, I'll have to check my RTV, or I might have to buy some if it's not right. So I'll be back. I guess you guys can see they're okay. I just thought I'd give you the pleasure of watching me clean it. So I took the scraper, I went around the edges, got the big chunks off. Trying to be careful not to gouge the pan. And then got this Scotch-Brite. Like I said, it's really fine abrasive, but any leftover RTV is going to take it off of there little by little, because it's abrasive but not too abrasive. So you can see it, maybe you can see it, there's a little spot right there. Unless it's an imperfection in the pan, I can't tell, but I think you guys see what you can see. You can see that stuff right there, and there's some there. I'll just scratch it off of there. Want a nice clean mating surface. And you can see, I guess this is where the fluid is all the time. It's pretty clean, and then there's a little bit of black up here, but it's really not much. You can also do this with a razor blade, but you always take the chance. Hey, I'm gonna hang on to that baby. I should have put a table here. There. Get it on the lip of that trash can. It takes a little longer because this stuff is not very abrasive, but it does a nice job cleaning it up. Maybe you guys should run over it with the razor blade first. I don't know. Comes off with the fingernail pretty easy. This stuff almost isn't abrasive enough, but I've got some green scratch pads, and I don't want to use those because I think they'll scratch the metal up too much. But maybe not. Anyway, it's just about there. I'll run it around inside in case there's any chunks. Make sure the outside is nice and clean. Any part that's going to touch the RTV. Now, that can's gone. Now you can see how clean it is, except for my fingers. There's a little bit right here, a little bit right there. I'm going to wipe my hands off a little bit. I'll pause this for a second. Well, that's as clean as it's going to get. That's pretty clean. Oh, missed the spot right there. You think it's clean, but It's funny how hard it is to get off with the abrasive, but your thumbnail takes it right off. Anyway, let me see what I have for sealant. So there's a metal tag attached to the rear end, one of the bolts. It's got some numbers on it, numbers and letters. So this one is S842J. So I googled it, and this has an 8.8 rear end. So I got the gasket for that. There it is. I just don't want to wait 24 hours for the sealant to dry. So here's the gasket. Now, sometimes if the gasket has holes small enough, you can put the gasket on the plate, on the back plate, and then run your bolts in, at least a couple of them, to hold it in place while you put it on. But these holes might be too big. So I'm going to see what it takes here to get that gasket on and all the bolts in. And then there's probably some instructions on here. Maybe. Nope. I think you're supposed to torque these to 13 foot-pounds is what I read. So let me see what I can get done. Well, you guys might as well join me for the fun. I'm just trying to get any remnants of this fluid out of here. I've been over half an hour, maybe close to an hour. I had to show somebody my Tundra that I'm selling, and then I went down and I ended up finding a gasket for this. Now this is a 8.8 rear end, so that gasket's supposed to work. And I don't have to wait 24 hours for the RTV to set up. Let's just hope that it does a good job of sealing it off. Give it another wipe down here. Make sure there's no kind of crusties on here that'll mess up the seal. Let's hope that does it. Now, I see the notches. There's 2 notches on this pan, and those go toward the bottom because there's notches down here. So the first thing I'm going to do is get a bolt in there. This is going to be a lot easier than a transmission pan, that's for sure. Well, I don't like that gasket or that bolt at the top. I'm going to put it on the side, and I can get it in the hole there, and just finger tighten it. Come on, there we go. I guess it doesn't matter what bolts you put in, as long as you get 2 of them in there, it'll hold it in place. Oh, somebody's stopping out front to look at my Tundra. I may have to pause this and come back. Give me just a minute. Okay, I'm back. I thought they were interested in the Tundra, but they were actually interested in this truck. I told them it'd be done in about 30 minutes. So this is that tag I was showing you. I'm gonna stick it back up here, one of these top bolts out of the way. Hopefully this seals off good, because I sure don't want to sit here with it on the jack stands for 24 hours waiting for it to seal up. I'm just going to start all these by hand, make sure that they're in straight. They say a cross thread is better than no thread, but I'm kind of hoping not to cross thread anything. That would not make my day. Come on. Usually, not usually, it used to be more than now when I buy a vehicle. I'd go through everything, check the rear end and the transmission and the engine oil and all the filters, including the cabin air filter if I had one. Sometimes I guess I get lazy, but I took this in because I didn't feel like crawling under here to change the oil. And they checked the differential for me, so that was a good thing because I knew then that the fill plug would come out, because you don't want to take these apart and then find out that your fill plug won't come out because it's too rusty. Now this is a Washington State truck, but actually, you know what? I was looking at the paperwork on it and it came from California, so either one of them's good because they don't get rusty. Now, I think I'm just going to use my 3/8 ratchet and cinch these down because it won't over tighten them. This other one, the 1/2-inch drive, it would have more of a tendency to over tighten them, which I don't need. I just need to cinch them down, and then I'll probably just go over about all of them with my socket, the ratchet, and make sure they're all at kind of the same torque, as much as I can tell by hand. So let's start tightening these up. As you can see, I'm not going to crank on them hard, just enough to put some pressure on the gasket. That's plenty. I figure if it does that, it's enough for now. Now, I guess the top ones will have to be done by hand because that drill's a little thicker than the other one. So get my extension on here. And let's see what we have. That one's already tight. Oh man, that's hard on my bad shoulder. Need about a 6-inch pillow to put my head on. I'm gonna have a sore neck tomorrow. Okay, that one's cinched up. Well, not cinched up. Snugged up, how's that? One thing I don't want this thing leaking. That would not be cool at all. Come on, get on there. There. Now, a lot of you guys probably know this already, but in case you don't know, see if I can show you here. See how I'm putting my finger on the center of the ratchet? I'll show you. Right here. It puts some pressure on it because sometimes if a bolt is too loose, it just spins back and forth and doesn't do anything. But if you put a little pressure right there, it'll hold it. Okay. Here we go. Cinched. 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 I'm going every other one. Then I'll come back and do every other one again. Cinched. Okay, now we'll do the ones we didn't do. Then I'll start at the top where the wire metal is. I'll know what I did. That's tight enough. 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 Okay. There they are. Now I've got to get out my gear oil. Start filling this baby up. It's supposed to take 2.3 quarts. And I think I have 3 quarts, but I have enough. I should be able to fill this up. Now, I have an electric pump, and sometimes in situations like this, I'll just use the electric pump to pump the stuff in. But this one should be good enough. Let me see if I can get you guys up here. Well, you already saw it, but there it is. I should be able to just put the bottle up there and squeeze it and run everything in there until it starts oozing out, and then we should be good. I'm not going to try to film it because I think it'll be too hard. Well, I want to see, maybe I can get the tripod up in front here. Well, you guys will get the idea. Just cut off the, I'll show you. So I've got this AMSOIL. There's a quart, and it's $75.90. And I've got this STP gear oil, $75.90. And I've got a Master Pro. I don't think it's going to matter. They all kind of have a certain amount of, well, standards, I guess, they have to live up to. It's supposed to take a little over 2, so I've got 3. This one might be a little bit low. I'm going to put in all the synthetic, and then I'll top it off with this one. And if I had to, if I needed more, there's some 75-140 synthetic too. I don't think it matters that much if you mixed a little bit. But on these babies, you take the red cap off. I guess that is brand new full. Check that one out, maybe. Japers, that's not coming off of there. Anyway, I think they're all brand new. So you just want to cut off the tip as high as you can, so it gives you some room to work, and then just hold this up in there and squeeze out the fluid. I'm going to give it a try. I'm not going to film it. It's too hard twisting around underneath there. See if I can't get that baby filled up. Well, I'll wrap this video up. It took a little over like 2 1/3 approximately quarts. I didn't realize that one of those bottles was partially gone, so it worked out good. I got her filled up till it started running out the fill hole. I put the plug back in. There's no leaks. This fluid is pretty black, and gear oil usually looks like motor oil, if I remember right. It's kind of clear. So yeah, it was definitely dirty. I'm gonna dump that into a I've got these oil bottles from changing oil. I'll find one of these that's mostly empty or all empty and dump it into there, take it down for recycling. Right now I saw the sign on the door that said their bin was full, so I'll wait a day or two. Anyway, hope this helps somebody out. It's not really a hard job, but it definitely makes it easier driving up on ramps. But I think you could get under there just on the ground and do it. That's about 8 inches up in the air there. I'm going to go ahead and let the jacks down and get the jack stands out of there. And I guess I'll go drive around the block and check it again, make sure there's no leaks. But I'll go ahead and show it to you guys while it's still up in the air. Ay-ya! There it is. And she's not leaking. And it's relatively clean. Cleaner than it was anyway. And I got that, if you can see it up there, that metal tab back on there that identifies the gear ratio, I guess, in the back. It's good to know, because otherwise I don't know how you tell. Probably some way, but I don't know. Anyway, I'm all done. That's going to be my project for today, because crawling underneath these vehicles does me in with my bad back and shoulders. But anyway, it's done. Thanks for watching. I hope this helps somebody out if they're thinking about doing this. Feel free to like, share, and subscribe.